Anything I don't.
We want to meet you. Nice to meet you. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Wave917FM.
Doesn't that give credit to the fact that, some of those governors actually mismanaged?
It's a question of
states like Akwa Ibom, Delta, that's huge oil money.
The platform to air your views. Have a frank discussion on trending issues in the polity. It is Fact Talk, Policy Talk.
Made a lot of things to go.
That is not correct. That is not correct.
Oh no, hold it. What? I was an insider and I know what goes on.
Dissecting it from all sides, politics and policies is played out by our politicians and policymakers.
Based on the agreement. On the basis of the new agreement. The question is that, Femi, what give us the third option?
No, we have two options here. You presented two options here. Dr. Bashir, you give us two options.
Yeah, I'm not giving you two options. That's it.
Frontal, thorough, incisive, and engaging interviews with high-profile guests, experts, and key stakeholders in different sectors.
We have been fighting.
Wasn't that the reason why your party
we have been fighting corruption in Nigeria since Nigeria was declared an independent country.
Join me, Femi Olanipekun, your host on Frank Talk, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday on Rave 91.7 FM, where we have frank discussions and give you quality talk. Always.
It should have been on record.
Hold it. When it came on board, let's turn it up.
Relax and unwind because we're going live. 91.7 Wave FM.
Beautiful morning to you once again. Thank you very much for joining us on Frank Talk and Rave 91.7 FM. We are define every bit of your moments right here. We spice up amazing music that we bring you all of the time with some very quality talk. One of such talks is Frank Talk, where we take a look at trending issues and the policy, bring these issues closer to you, help you have a better understanding, deeper insight of these issues in our polity. We look at policies and we look at politics. Policies as mapped out by our policymakers and politics as played out by our politicians. Well, my name is Femi Olanipekun. So happy to have you join us on the program again today. Well, today we'll be looking at the state of the nation, and we'll be talking to someone eminently qualified, really, to look at that particular issue. My guest this morning is a journalist. He is a publisher, he's a businessman, he's a philanthropist, he's an actor, and he's a motivational speaker. He is the publisher of the popular Ovation magazine, and he's been around for some time in the Nigerian stratosphere, while contributing his own quota to the development of our great country, Nigeria. My guest joins us shortly live on the line. But then we'll be looking at issues. He was one of those who played key roles in the emergence of the current president, Muhammadu Buhari. And then he runs a very popular column on the back page of this newspaper. And as such, he ventilates his ideas, his concerns about the Nigerian polity through that particular column. We're joined live on the line now by Basharun Dele Momodu. We thank you very much, sir, for joining us on Frank Talk on Rave 91.7 FM, sir.
Good morning, and it's my pleasure to speak to you this morning after watching Hillary Clinton, bash Donald Trump like a baby. I'm so excited. Good morning.
Good morning, Basharun. We appreciate you, sir. Well, we get to talk about that also towards the end of the show here today. But then let me start, sir, by talking about Nigeria. You played a key role, though you like to say your own little role, in getting the president to become the president 2015. You are one of those leading voices for change in this country. Now, 1 year down the line, how would you assess that change?
I would say that the change has come at a very huge cost. I like to be very immodest. I'm just one out of the 200 million Nigerians. And of course, I supported the change movement. And I would say 1 year down the line, the change is on course. Though we have turbulence, when a plane takes off, you must experience some turbulence before you stabilize. Yes, if you tell me that the stability is taking a bit of time, I will agree with you that we can eat quicker and faster, but we're not Donald Trump, so I would give them more time to stabilize. Whatever has been bad for so many years cannot be corrected overnight. But that is not to say that there are not things we could have done better. But I believe the change is on course, and I pray that this plane will stabilize, and at the right time, it will land safely.
Well, Basharun, you run a very popular, highly popular, column on the back page of This Day on Saturdays. Very popular, and then you ventilate your concerns about the Nigerian project oftentimes on that particular column. And of late, the last one you wrote was very critical of the people working with Mr. President. His team, you said that this particular cabinet is not flying at all.
Well, I didn't say they are not flying at all, but I'm just saying that they are not flying well. We expected for a change government, we expected that the cabinet will work with a sense of purpose and a sense of urgency. And I believe that has missed out in this particular cabinet. This is not the first time I will be saying that. I remember a very, very top member, a senior member of this government, actually called me for about 1 hour. The first time I wrote that the cabinet did not sparkle. I actually compared the cabinet to that of former President Goodluck Jonathan. And I said, even if he disagreed with Jonathan, his cabinet was more vibrant. He didn't like that. He felt I wrote them off. But that is my candid opinion. A cabinet must give hope to the people. Hope is very important in the process of changing a country for the better. But where there is absence of hope, where there is despondency, where there is frustration, where there is hunger, there will be anger. And that is why, I am warning Mr. President as a stakeholder, as someone who supported him with everything. And when I did meet with him last year, I had shown him a copy of all the things I wrote as suggestions to the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. And he even asked me to autograph the book for him, which I did. And I had appointed myself as a special advisor to government, free of charge. I wasn't a member of Jonathan's cabinet. But as a Nigerian, we must always do everything possible to support our government, to make suggestions to them, even when they refuse to listen. And I did promise Mr. President I will do the same thing for him, and that's what I've been doing every week in my pendulum column on the back page of this day newspaper. You will see that column has become extremely popular. The social media is always a buzz every Saturday once I publish that column, and everybody reads, even those who disagree with me can see that I'm very genuine, can see that I'm not a critic just for the sake of it. I want Nigeria to change so that my children and your children can have a country to call their own. That is very important.
But some people feel that that criticism might just not be totally fair. Looking at the kind of people the president has, talking about persons like Dr. Kayode Fayemi, like Babatunde Fashola. You're talking about Kemi Adeosun. Some of them have huge international exposure, who've done very well also, even in assignments given to them in the country. Some people are saying, well, the present situation is still a function of the kind of the problems we had in the past.
Well, I don't doubt the fact that some of them, not most of them, have huge international exposure. But international exposure alone is not enough. In fact, I think it's more of saying they have intimidating credentials. Some of them have an impeccable pedigree, but some of them actually don't have the requisite experience and exposure, and that may be part of the reasons why they are not flying. The other thing you also must remember that I mentioned in that column was the fact that some of them look very timid and intimidated. It's like they are afraid. When you look at them, they are not that vibrant. In the time of Jonathan, you had a few vibrant people whose voices you could not put down. I will give the example of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I will give that of Dr. Adesina. When you listen to them, they had that commanding presence, and they gave you hope. Even if you believe that they were not telling the whole truth, you will still listen, and you will be persuaded by some of their arguments. I remember having this running battle with Dr. Adesina when he mentioned that he distributed 14 million phones to Nigerian farmers. I didn't believe it, and I wrote about it, and he called, and we spoke at length about it. He gave me reasons why they were distributing phones to farmers. He gave examples of where it had been done before in Malawi, in East Africa and all those places. And so that is what government should be. Government must give hope to people. Government must speak directly to the people. But a situation where it seems you are running a secret court and nobody knows anything, and you expect them to support everything blindly, then something is wrong. And Mr. President should not listen to the cabal that usually hijacks every government in Nigeria. Because I'm worried. Everybody is troubled. I have my facts, and I deal with so many people at a certain level, and I know what they all say behind. Of course, when you see Mr. President, they will tell him everything is good, everything is okay. But trust me, things are not okay. And that is why I'm sounding the alarm very early, so that before it is too late, we can sit up. And I always give the example of Ghana, where I live partly. Before my very eyes, I've seen different governments come and go, from Jerry Rawlings to John Ajeku Kufuor to Professor Atta Mills, and now to John Dramani Mahama. I can see what they are doing. They don't have our kind of resources. You can say, yes, Ghana is a small country compared to Nigeria, but their resources are also very small. But they are marching forward. They are repairing their airports, they are upgrading their airports, they are, making sure that their roads are motorable, they are building infrastructure, 600 capacity hospital, 400 capacity hospital they have in Marine Hospital in Tema. for over 100 beds. So you can imagine how many doctors you are going to be employed, how many nurses, how many, medical staff in those airports. So these are things that encourage me that we too can do it in Nigeria. They have a sugar factory. There is no reason why we cannot manufacture sugar in Nigeria. There is no reason why we cannot do a lot of things that we currently do abroad.
Well, Bashir, I'm sorry to cut in here. I mean, going by this comparison, with Ghana, don't you think our own problems here are more structural? Because you have each government coming in with so much hope and expectation, and then in the end, you see people getting disappointed.
Yes, I agree with you to some extent that there are always structural problems, but they are not peculiar to Nigeria. There are structural problems everywhere. One of the structural problems that I see in Nigeria is that we have refused to learn from our exposure to other foreign countries, especially the developed ones. For example, there is no developed nation in the world where you don't have a credit system. If you don't have a credit system, you cannot kill corruption. What is happening to the government of President Buhari is that he wants to kill corruption, but then what do you replace with it? When people are hungry, then they will take money, they will take food from their enemy. Even sometimes you will risk eating poison because you are hungry. So you can't just kill corruption without taking care of the structures that encourage corruption to thrive. So we must begin to work on those structures, especially the credit system. We used to have it in Nigeria. A lecturer, I remember my older brother at the University of Ife, Professor Dele Ajayi, could get a car loan. He had studied abroad, came back to Nigeria, and he could get a car loan. If a teacher is able to get a car loan, then the pressure on him to be selling handouts and be taking money from his students will reduce. Nothing of the sort is happening. We're just saying, okay, kill corruption. Yes, kill corruption, but tomorrow we all have bills to pay. Our children must go to school. We must find food on the table. So the structures are there, but we have totally abandoned them. And it is time for us to reawaken and reactivate them.
Well, again, I mean, going back to that column, that was very widely circulated, especially this last one you wrote. You strongly recommended that the president rejig his cabinet, even if it means sacking some of them. And you went ahead to cite examples, where in Saudi Arabia in 2014, the king sacked his health minister after the outbreak of one MERS, disease then. And also you cited example of Angolan president sacking his finance minister. Of these present persons constituting the cabinet of President Buhari, who of them do you think needs to go and need to be replaced?
I will not tell you on radio who I want the president to sack. It is his prerogative to sack whoever he feels is not performing. But some are very glaring. And that's why I give the examples I gave without mentioning names. The Yorubas have been saying, your name Benu Ekula and Pelegun. I don't know. The masquerade is a human being. He's not actually from heaven, as we often believe. I know for a fact that some of these people are not flying, and they cannot fly because it seems they don't have the wings to fly. And the sooner I sack them, the better. The economy is in tatters. Every experiment they've tried have failed. And the best way to do it, if, for example, you have a bank CEO who is not performing after 1 year, over a year, the CEO is referring to the previous CEO as the reason for its failure. Of course, it's time to sack such a CEO. Same thing with the football. I gave the example of football clubs that if the manager is not delivering, you won't say because the former manager created problems for you, that's why you cannot deliver. You will sack that manager and get a new manager. If you buy a player, they say to whom much is given, much is expected. You buy a player and the player looks injured or weak or too old and ineffectual. Of course, you must fire that player. And that is why I recommended to Mr. President he needs to rejig and he should look beyond APC. I don't believe that only politicians should be in government in Nigeria. Everywhere else, you go for your first level. You look for your... That's why I mentioned in particular, you will remember I singled out Dr. Mr. Donald Duke, the former governor of Cross River. And there are so many of such people in our system. You have Obi Ezekwesili who had been in education before. When she was there, you could see the passion with which she delivered. And this was a lady who left government to work with the World Bank as the vice president for Africa. I remember visiting her in Washington, D.C. And I know the respect she commanded, globally. And you have such people in Nigeria, and you reduce them, to people who are just demonstrating for Chibok girls. You can't engage them constructively. You can't even allow them to come near Aso Rock to complain to the president. I think that is very unfortunate. And we must do something about this. The quality of people I see hanging around Mr. President now leaves much to be desired. I don't think they are ready and willing to change Nigeria urgently and drastically.
Well, looking back now, sir, do you nurse any regret supporting the president to become, the president of the country? Looking back at what is happening now, and then with some people saying the president only came to office with only his anti-corruption credentials, that he seems not to have, the wherewithal to handle issues like the economy and the like. Do you not any regret supporting him?
No, I am not a man of little faith. I still believe in Mr. President. If I didn't believe in him, I would not waste my time and energy writing about him and to him every Saturday. I believe he can deliver. I believe he has the capacity. There is no leader who knows it all. Is he? But the quality of people around you are the ones who will give you the wings to fly. I remember Chief Obafemi Awolowo. He used to gather the best of the best. If I am in President Buhari's position, I will assemble as a matter of urgency the best brains that God has blessed Nigeria with. We have them at home. We have them abroad. I've been to countries everywhere, on this planet. And I can tell you that Nigerians are doing great things, except at home. And it is because we don't get them involved. As a matter of fact, during the week, just this past week, I don't know if you saw the tweet from Hillary Clinton. A doctor who follows her everywhere is a Nigerian, a Yoruba man. So it tells you that God has given us our brains, God has blessed us with the best materials, but when we refuse to use them, we should not complain that things are not working well for us.
Well, there is one debate going on nationally at the moment, about moving the country out of this current recession. And it's that debate about the sale of national assets. Where do you stand here?
Well, I stand for the middle of the road that we can do concessioning. You don't just sell all your assets and then tomorrow there will be nothing left. You see, because any asset you have sold, that is it. It's gone for life. After selling it, you cannot say, oh, now I regret selling it, I want it back. Some people have suggested that we should sell those assets so that we can use the proceeds to fund the 2016 budget. I disagree. So if you fund the budget for this year is almost ending. We are entering the last quarter of the year. So what then happens next year? What are you going to sell? Is what the Yorubas call akotileta. We cannot be akotileta. We can concession and say, oh, the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos is an eyesore. It's a disgrace to Nigeria. It's a public embarrassment. Okay, what do? Get people and say, we give this place to you for 10 years, for 20 years, for 25 years. We expect you to pump in money, turn it around, manage it, and then we share the proceeds 60-40, 50-50, whatever it is we agree on. That, for me, is more acceptable. Because when we sold the Akko village residence of our legislators at that time, I could not understand why anybody would do that, because legislators come and go. So today, the legislators have nowhere to live. So the rent situation in Abuja is so chaotic that when they come in, the prices just jump up. Whereas if they had left the place there, maintain it very well, then people can come in there, leave, and when they lose their seats and go back to their constituencies or wherever they choose to live, then others can move into those apartments. Now we have deprived Nigerian legislators of that opportunity, and we should learn a lesson from that. And that is why I'm saying, don't just sell off these national assets. We can make them very profitable if you have people outside the box and know about running businesses.
Okay. Bashorun, there's a crisis brewing that came to the fore, kind of reached boiling point within the ruling party. The ruling APC got out late on Sunday evening with the national leader of the APC calling for the resignation of the national chairman, Chief John Odigio Oyegu. What do you make of this? Don't you think it's going to further affect the fortunes of the party in its delivery of the promise to change to Nigerians?
Well, I'm not a member of APC. I was only a volunteer supporting the presidential candidacy of Muhammadu Buhari. But it is very unfortunate, not just for APC, but for Nigeria, because both the chairman of the party, Chief John Odigio Oyegu, and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we were all together in exile in England, during the Abacha years. And very, very close. We worked closely together to bring about the democracy that we all enjoy in Nigeria today. So if they are fighting, it should be a cause for alarm. I know Chief Oyegu to be a very principled man, is a man of modest means, but I am sure that the situation in APC drove Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to that level of frustration, whereby he had to burst out. And you should understand with him, he sacrificed everything for this government, and he deserves, to be well respected for his role before, during, and after the election. As a matter of fact, I had recommended weeks ago that the government should draw Asiwaju closer instead of trying to push him away. He's one of the most experienced politicians and technocrats that we have in Nigeria today. Very rare to find a man with the vision and capacity of Asiwaju. Everybody knows that he's a philosopher king who has paid his dues. He knows what to do to help this government to get out of the mess. He knows how to discover, nurture, and promote the best talents in Nigeria, as you would have seen in the examples of people like Fashola, like our governor in Osun State, Penny Rauf Aregbesola, Dr. Fayemi, and all over Nigeria. Even when you look at our current vice president, he's also a product of the Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu School of Politics. Such a man should not be treated as if he's inconsequential. And I will recommend very urgently, because I know there are hawks within government who will say, ignore him or even deal with him. I've heard such nonsense, from certain quarters. Everything must be done to make sure that APC does not collapse into smithereens. That was what led to the collapse of the PDP government. A house divided against itself will always collapse, and we should learn from our immediate past. I remember some people told President Jonathan, Botimi Amechi, let him go. Bukola Saraki can go. Kwankwaso can go. And they all left. And now we see the results.
Well, some critics of Mr. President have accused him of nepotism. They say the appointments the president has made has been majorly from his ethnic area, from the north. Now, while some supporters of the president have said this is an issue of trust President maybe believing that the people from his area can handle some of these things better, and maybe he has trust in them. What do you make of such issues? The appointment by Mr. President, and many people, especially down south here, not particularly happy with those appointments.
Well, there were a few appointments that gave us some concern, especially that of the security chiefs, which seems to have tilted more towards the north. But you see, I'm a very, very objective and fair-minded soul. The Yorubas have a say, so if you give the O to a farmer, it's natural that you will try to put some things towards yourself. But then, there are also many great appointments that he made that came from other parts of Nigeria. That of Rotimi Amechi, for example, as the Minister of Transport. That's a very huge portfolio. The multiple appointments, assigned to Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, he combines power with works and housing. And those are three very important portfolios. I actually recommended in my article last Saturday that they should let him concentrate on power. Because if Buhari can just fix power alone, and we can thank him and say, Baba, you've done your best. Now you can enjoy your retirement. Please, I recommended that works even to someone like Donald Duke, who should promise as the governor of Cross River. So, yes, people will always complain Nigeria is a large country and it's a place where we're very, very sensitive to anything to do with ethnicity and religion. But that should not be the case. We should get to a stage where people can get things on merit. My main concern is the people being appointed, whether from the north or the south, are they eminently qualified? And of course, our constitution guarantees, that the federal character should be practiced so that, such allegations will not come from different parts. But no matter what you do, people would always complain. And it's our duty to continue to encourage Mr. President. And where he makes mistakes, it is never too late to let him know. And I believe, and I've interacted with him very briefly, I believe that he's a man who is very worried about his legacy, who is very concerned about his future. I think he would want to fail deliberately. But if he does not take the right advice from the right people, then I'm afraid he might not be able to take us to the promised land.
Well, let's talk about your relationship with the late MKO Abiola. You are a lover of MKO Abiola. You're a close associate. You are a close associate to him. But then, are you comfortable with his place in history as of today in this country? June 12 is barely celebrated anymore. With what is happening to his legacy, are you comfortable with his place in history in Nigeria?
Let me say clearly that I'm not just a lover of Chief Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola. I am a son to him and to his family, and that's the way he treated me. If a man could come on my wedding on December 19, 1992, all the way to Ijebubu, and my father-in-law, Chief Adaramaja, handed my wife over to him and said, yeah, I'm giving my daughter to you, and please make sure you take good care of her. So that is the role of a father. And I'm eternally grateful to him for that mentorship. But his place in history, I have no doubt that is greatly assured. His name is written already in gold. Even if some people are still afraid of him in death, that is their business. But I know that Chief Moshood Abiola would remain a great son of Africa, not just Nigeria. Because this was a man who did so much for every black man, everywhere in the world. And the world would always remember and salute his role.
Okay, well, let me talk about your journalism career now, sir. You've played this game at the highest level. You're one of Nigeria's most celebrated. Oh my, it seems we lost the line to Bashorun there, but then we definitely reconnect to continue this very interesting conversation with Bashorun Dele Momodu, who's joining us live on the line to this morning on Frank Talk on Rave 91.7 FM here. We've been looking at issues generally from the presidency, the president, to his cabinet and to many other issues right here. But then we should open the lines also while we try to reconnect back to Basharu Dele Momodu to get some answers to some of the questions we have really. I thought I was going to ask about his current journalism and how it's practiced today, and some of the other sundry issues that we have in our polity. We open the lines for you right now.
You can now join the conversation by calling 0703-175-9177, 0703-175-9177, and 0902-427-3808. You can equally make use of our social media platforms. For WhatsApp, 0703-175-9173, 0703-175-9173. Tweet at us at Rave917FM, and Facebook is Rave917FM.
Hello.
All right, thank you very much for joining us again. The line went dead at some point, really, sir. Thank you for coming back.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Yes, I was going to ask about the journalism profession in Nigeria. You've played the game at the highest level. You are one of Nigeria's most celebrated journalists. Looking at the state of the profession in the country today, are you happy?
Oh yes, against all odds, Nigerian journalists are marching forward. We're trudging on like the old Roman soldiers, you know. It's not easy to be a journalist in this part of the world. For so many reasons, the training is lacking, the remuneration is very, very, very small and unattractive, but we are a proud people. I always say we are probably the poorest professionals in Nigeria, but we have some of the most fantastic journalists out there in Africa, and they respect us everywhere we go. People respect our level of efficiency and professionalism. Our lives have been endangered, you know, people have even been killed, and yet, you know, they go to prison, they come out, and they still do their jobs very well. And I drop my heart to my colleagues, and including yourself, you know, who is interviewing me now. I mean, I can see that you prepared very well for this interview, and so that is one of the greatest things about Nigerian journalists. We always put in everything into our job, and I hope that God will continue to help us.
Amen. Thank you very much, sir. Well, many of your fans, many of the people who read your columns, who followed you from all over the years, are somewhat confused about where you come from. Are you from Osun? Your affinity with Osun is well documented, or are you from Edo State? Which part of...
Okay, the way I like to put it is that my father, Pa Jacob Momodu, had migrated from Hiwi in the Owan East local government today of Edo State, and settled in the ancient city of Ile-Ife, where I was born on May 16, 1960. And so he met my mom, who is from Gbongan in Osun State. So, Yufi, Mewa, in Gbongan. But we settled in Ife. I was born in Ife. I was raised in Ife. And I'm very proud to claim both Edo and Osun. We're one and the same.
All right. Well, great to know, sir. We'd like you to stay with us for some few more minutes. Our phone lines have been buzzing. We'd like you to please interact also with our listeners as they join this very interesting conversation, sir.
Good morning to everyone out there, and hoping I can take your call.
All right. Okay. Let's okay. The number to call 0703-175-9177. And 0902-427-380. You have the first call on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Akin Johnson from Osogbo.
Thank you, Mr. Akin Johnson.
Yeah. Following the trend of the conversation with Basharu Dele Momodu, I just want to commend his efforts on his write-up about the advancement of Nigeria, and wish to ask him again to improve and to see to the the moving forward, especially of Mr. President, because all what you have been saying, I've been trying to follow and I've been enjoying it. I pray more grace to his able, as people used to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your kind comments, and we can continue to try by the grace of God.
Amen. All right. This message on our WhatsApp page is saying what we're experiencing is a change of promise instead of promise of change. They promised us change and betterment in our economy, and now they are talking about attitudinal change. APC has actually played on our intelligence, and we are paying heavily for our folly. That's from Tunji from Elisha. He apparently is reacting to the Change Begins With You campaign launched by Mr. President of late. Do you think, sir, that change should really begin with the average Nigerian, or, like most Nigerians are saying, begin with the president and our political elite?
I've never been a supporter of slogans and sloganeering. We sloganize a lot in Nigeria. We've wasted a lot of money and resources, rebranding. I don't know what is wrong with us. There's nothing to rebrand. Nigerians know the truth. You don't have to feed us like babies before we know what is required of us. I don't see anywhere where we love our country more than Nigeria. I have an example I always like to give, where there was a year I was invited to Edinburgh in Scotland by the late Ambassador Dende Fernandez. And he was with his former wife, the American, and we were having lunch in Scotland. And throughout the lunch, we couldn't enjoy our meal because we kept talking about Nigeria. And at a stage, the wife looked at us and said, "You Nigerians, you like your country so much that even now you will not allow us to enjoy our meal. If you love Nigeria so much, how come you cannot do something about changing it?" It's like wherever 2 or 3 Nigerians are gathered, they are talking about Nigeria anywhere in the world. And so it's very easy to criticize. I know that for a fact. Until you are on that seat, you will never know how difficult things are. And I am sure President Buhari means well, but maybe he's overwhelmed by the magnitude of problems on his desk. And the least we can do is to support him first. And if he doesn't listen to us, it will be on record that we spoke when it was necessary. And he was the one who refused to do the needful. I thought that's what I'm doing. You and I have a role to play, not because Alhaji Lai Mohammed is telling me so, but because I know my responsibility as a Nigerian. And they should stop wasting money on such frivolities, all this branding and rebranding. I don't support it. We have better things to do with our resources.
All right. So this message is from Mr. Tony Odeyemi from SRK. He said, "Good morning, Mr. Femi. I appreciate the contributions of Basharun Dele Momodu. If truly he meant all what he said, if it is not that he needs appointment, the federal government should take a bold step to sack these unqualified ministers, including the CBN governor, and appoint experienced people and experts to tackle this economic recession." Well, that message is from Tony Odeyemi, but let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Well, just before you react to that, sir, we have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank
good
you
morning.
for joining us. What's your name?
My name is Bode. I'm calling from UK.
Thank you, Mr. Bode.
With due respect to our guest in the house, Basharun Dele Momodu, I'm a fan. I always go through some of the friends in their presentation analysis. But one thing I've come to realize, one thing I've come to observe is that he's always representing the perspective of Asiwaju. If we look at what is happening in Nigerian politics today, we understand that there are issues going on between presidential and the national government, the APC, person of Asiwaju interest. We can see that the tentacles of Asiwaju are not pointing as the presidency. If you look at the legal angle, you see that Falana not pointing fingers at Emir Sanusi and Thomas Gengo. So to me, I think Bashar is another winner. Do respect to you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
I didn't catch most of Mr. Is it Mr. Odeyemi now?
Mr. Bode is the one who called.
Mr. Bode, okay. I didn't quite catch what he was saying about winners or winning or whatever. But what I want to say, the first caller said, if I'm not looking for appointment, I can tell you sir, that I'm not looking for appointment. If I was a desperado looking for appointment, by now I would have jumped ship from my party and I would have joined APC. I'm not a member of APC. People don't know that. I don't even live in Nigeria. People go to sit down in Abuja carrying, their CVs up and down. I don't engage in it. I am a man who was trained to have contentment in life. So, and it is my right anyway if I choose to seek appointment anywhere. But I am telling you that I'm not writing because I need appointment. Otherwise, if I wanted to be anything in Nigeria, I knew what to do. And I have enough contacts to get anything I want in my country. The country belongs to all of us. I was teaching A-levels at the Oyo State College of Arts and Science as far back as 1982. I was the private secretary to the then Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Chibakemo Buriwu, in 1983. So I'm not a small boy that, because we have not been in government does not mean that we don't know what to do. But I am assuring you, I'm not looking for any appointment. And so let's get that out of our minds. It's not every Nigerian that complains that is a wheeler, that is disgruntled. I'm not disgruntled in any way. The way I've been defending Buhari, even this morning, would suggest to anybody that I have nothing against his government. I'm just concerned that things are not going the way we envisaged it. And it is our duty to help the government by telling government the truth. Thank you. God bless you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And this message is from Abiodun. He's saying, please ask him about his view on the current clampdown on bloggers by this present government. You must have had reports about some bloggers arrested and then some moves by the National Assembly also to restrict the right of, social media activists or people called like that, really. People using the blog sphere.
Well, I'm not sure that the clampdown is as widespread as they are suggesting. I blog myself. I do a lot on Twitter. But the thing is that we must write with every sense of responsibility. There's nowhere in the world where you just wake up every morning and some people choose to blackmail and blacklist, and those they don't like. We must promote love, amongst ourselves. And all this negativity, Nigeria needs positive energy right now. And wherever and whenever bloggers have been arrested, I can assure you that I have done my part to make sure that we protest and reach out to those who have done it. Even there was a time sometime last year where a few bloggers were arrested because they were attacking a bank MD. And when they called me, we promptly intervened. So I would never support censorship, but at the same time, we too should not support the negative people who blackmail and just attack fellow Nigerians, just for the fun of it.
All right, sir. We have another caller here. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us, sir. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm Ade from Oshogbo.
Ade from Oshogbo.
Yes. Please, I want you to finally discuss about militancy in the Niger Delta and then the Northeast issue, please. Thank you.
All right. Well, this person is asking for your views on the militancy in the Niger Delta and then the Boko Haram issue in the Northeast.
Well, the militancy, we all know the origin of it, that the people, who supply the golden eggs in Nigeria are very deprived. If you go to the Niger Delta area, you will not believe that that's where the bulk of our wealth comes from. They are living in squalor. And so naturally, rebels will fester in such an environment. In the Northeast also, you will see that even the people you call the Almajiris, all these young people are there. They are not properly educated. They have no hopes in life. So it's very easy for terrorists to recruit them. Idle lands are very easy for the devil to employ. And that is what has been happening in some parts of Nigeria. And if we want to be fair to the Buhari government, they've made enough effort, especially militarily, to quell rebellion in all those places. But that is not enough. They have to go beyond that. They have to make sure that people are properly educated. They have to prepare them for the future. Everybody cannot be a graduate, but we must train our artisans. We used to have technical schools and colleges in those days. If you go to Ghana now, that's what they are doing. They are making sure that, you have people who will be good bricklayers, good carpenters, good mechanics, So we must train our youths to be useful to our society, because when we abandon them and they become useless, then we should not complain when they turn against us and begin to fight us.
What this person, ASB 2030, is asking, good morning, Femi. Please, I want to ask Basharundele Momodu his relationship with these three people, Femi Fani-Kayode, Ayo Fayose, and Senator Yola Omishore.
Okay, maybe I'll start from the rear. I went to the same school, St. John's Grammar School in Ife, with Senator Yola Omishore.
Okay.
So I think I left a year or two, ahead of him at St. John's Grammar School. Of course, Governor Fayose, I met later in life. I think after he became the governor of Ekiti State first time around, but I knew a few members of his family before then, but nothing that intimate. Then Femi Fani-Kayode, I knew the dad more than himself, because his dad used to come to Ife in those days, and I used to visit him. I loved his sartorial taste. He was a man who was very colorful, and so for young people in Ife in those days, there were a few of them like that. Chief Alex Chuduyemi, Chief Omidiora, and the rest of them. And we used to look up to them as mentors. Of course, I later met Femi, and I would say we're friends, but we're not political associates, because he belonged to the Republicans, while I belong more to the Democrats.
And then what about Senator Omishore as of today? After you left school, do you still have any relationship?
Oh, we meet from time to time. Yes, we meet from time to time. We are friends from the same school, and we all grew up together in Ife. And he has pursued his political ambition and agenda. And like Femi, he is of the PDP stock, while I belong to the National Conscience Party. So politically, we don't agree, but I am very tolerant of every shade of opinion.
Okay. Just before we let you go, sir, I'm going to ask you two questions. You once made a move yourself to become the president of Nigeria. Are you still a member of the National Conscience Party?
Oh, I am a proud member of the National Conscience Party. That's why I told the gentleman who suggested that he hopes I'm not looking for appointments. Appointment is not groundnut that you buy. I am, in fact, too busy globally that to come to Nigeria sometimes is a problem. People, I can't remember the last time I went to Abuja. You won't believe it. Those who want appointments are sitting. I know people who have been in Abuja since last year. They can't come back home because they are virtually stranded there looking for appointments. I'm not looking for any appointment. If Nigeria needs me, Nigeria will call me. So I'm not the one to go and, harass Mr. President. I remember when I visited the president last year and I came out, people were asking me, the man was so relaxed with you. You were laughing, you were joking. They've never seen. I even saw governors. Governors called me. Telling what were you telling the man that he was so relaxed? I said, because I didn't go there to ask him for anything. So I went there to advise him, and I will continue to advise him. Anybody who wants appointment in Nigeria will not write the kind of articles I'll be writing. Because people like psychopaths. Everybody likes a bit of psychopathy, and I'm not one. I'm not a psychopath. I say it as it is. I've said it to all the governments in Nigeria, without any fear of contradiction.
So, would you be interested in still running for the president again, even on the platform of that party you once did?
I am not God, so I cannot say what God has in store for me in the future. But personally, I don't think I'm interested in any elective office. I don't think I'll waste my time. It's obvious that you cannot win the presidency unless you belong to one of two mainstream political parties. Even in America, you can see that even Donald Trump, with all his money had to join a party and try to hijack the party, to himself. It is virtually impossible for an independent candidate to become the president of any country.
And so you stayed up all night for the presidential debate in America, between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Looking at that debate culture, it seems to have enriched their own democratic culture in that country. Would you recommend saying that strong debate culture for us here in Nigeria? Because you recall that the president was not part of the debate, did not partake in any debate during the last elections.
Yeah, Nigeria is a very complex and complicated country. A lot of things that we see in other places we always refuse to practice in our own country, which is very unfortunate. I would strongly recommend that anybody who wants to rule Nigeria or govern Nigeria henceforth must come to a debate and tell every one of us what he or she plans to do. I was very happy to watch the debate last night in the company of His Excellency Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, the governor of Ondo State. We were together in Lagos last night. He actually called me over and said, "Hey, Dele, we must work," because he knows my passion for Hillary, and I'm sure he also loves Hillary. We admire Hillary Clinton, and we stayed awake, and we were having our coffee, and we had a great time looking at a woman of history, and we are for her.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate it sincerely, Basharu Dele Momodu. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on Frank Talk on Rave 91.7 FM, Oshobo.
I thank you, sir, for calling me, and I say keep raving.
Thank you.
God bless you. God bless us and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, my guest this morning has been Basharu Dele Momodu, joining us live on the line, and looking at issues all across the polity here, and preferring solutions, also making recommendations to the present administration. We'd like to thank you sincerely also for being a part of our world, for joining also the program here today. We're back here tomorrow for another edition of the program. On behalf of my team and executive producer, Femi Adefila, my name is Femi Olanikwekun. Thanking you so much for listening and asking you to have a great day.
With Rave 91.7 FM, I get informed, learn new things, listen to my favorite music. What else can I say? It's just an eye-opener to the world of exciting